Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Wednesday. It's May 14th. This will be our chart lesson for the day. And you can see we had this looks like a very small range type day is what this looks like, a real small doji. And when we flip over to 2000 tick chart, you'll see it's exactly what it is, a very small range type day. It's only about 3:15, so the market is not closed yet. But I'm going to go ahead and do the chart lesson. It's after 2:30, so all the trades would have been in. We'll see where it closes. I doubt this is going to take 45 minutes, so it probably won't quite be closed when we get done. But we could turn down or up at the last minute, and this thing could close higher. It looks like if it closed right now, we would close slightly higher. So I don't know what it's going to end up doing, but it's just been a range day. And when we flip over, it's lots of trades today, though. It was a very uh, a large number of trades. It was kind of a good trading day. So as far as a range goes, you have to understand range rules and all that, but it's a good trading day as far as having the number of trades and being able to spot them and that kind of thing. So, but let's do this. Let's flip over. We'll work through the trades and we'll wrap the day up. And here it is, and you can see there's no news events today, and you can see it's just a range day. And right now we're kind of trading in the lower half of the range. I mean, it did kind of tighten up, I believe, as the day went on. The overnight highs up here, the overnight lows were down here. Uh, this looks still continued to be the best spot all day, even though we broke lower twice. I think we got most of our touches right along this 5,900 level, which is where I started mid morning, early morning. So I think this, you can see that fits the midline really well. And we never could get back up near the highs. So, but you can see most of your trades are going to be off the lows or off the highs. Pretty simple. I mean, that's the way you trade a range. You go short on the off the resistance and you go long off the support. So let's zoom in here and we'll work through what we've got here and get this day wrapped up. I mean, really, we were just topping out on this move up. Notice we got a trend up at 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock came just as we're kind of starting this move back to a new high here. It's right in here somewhere. Um, I think it was actually on this low bar. Yep, 701 right there as we're starting this move back up. And there's a hidden second entry there, but you still got a break and a new high. Technically, this would be a first entry, second entry, third entry. So by the rules, it's not a second entry, but it's a break, and you can clearly see two swings up to a new high, and we're way away from the EMA. Very bearish bar. I like going short there. As usual, you'd be better off to wait. I mean, I think you can call that a double top, but because this is so much higher, I don't think you can classify that as a lower high. But I still like it as a double top and just taking that move back to the EMA at a minimum, and maybe we go the other side, but we end up just kind of chopping sideways here. Notice here that we just got little tiny legs. You know, they're little small swings is really all they are, and sideways stuff. But you got a 1, 2, 3 triple test there with a good signal bar. I like that one. Doesn't go very far, but it's an easy scalp. You can see I mean, it's good for two and a quarter, 2.5 points. Easily get your scalp out of that, and then it shoots back up again and retest this high before turning down. And you don't really get a setup up here. You might call that a double top, but I would wait see if you get a lower high here, because this does make a slightly higher high, and so you don't really know if this is going to be the highs or not, because we just came off that high and now we're testing it again. If you'd got a good signal bar here, I'd say go short, but you don't get a good enough signal bar. I think you have to wait on this one. Um, and you can see we do get a reversal type pattern here, but we're back in this kind of sideways stuff, so I don't think you want to go short there either. Runs down, and you can see where the original overnight lows were, and we kind of bounced there. Again, I don't think you want to go long here. There is what I would call a higher low here, but that bar is just almost back to the EMA. 30 ticks. That's the first break of that channel. I'd just sit tight and be patient and see if you get something else. And then notice what happens. You get a second entry long after a triple test right at the lows again, and now you got a little room back to the EMA. Now this doesn't trigger. I went ahead and marked this anyway. I like it. When it broke lower here and turned back up, you could go long. So technically, really, you're going long on this higher low. So I should put the signal bar there. But it was a triple test first, and I wanted to clarify that for you. But you could go long here on this one. I don't think you want to wait till this bar closes. I think it's bearish enough when it broke lower and turned up. You can go long right there on that second entry. Would I go long here? I don't think so. I don't think once it's closed and it backed off that EMA, I would sit tight just to make sure that we're going higher and not risk it. And then we kind of chop back down here. This is like a first entry. There's a second entry there, but you can't go long. And it's really kind of congested with a little failed breakout, but there's not much room back to these highs across here, so I don't think you want to go long there. But notice what happens. You get a first entry, and then you run up and you get a second entry short up here, way away from the EMA again. And this has just been working sideways, and you can see how flat the EMA is. So I like riding that back to the EMA on a second entry short. And it runs all the way back down to the bottom. Now you can easily argue there's at least a triple test, probably quadruple. Again, it's a really big bar, so I don't know if you want to take it or not, but it fits the criteria. If you want to go long there, you can. I wouldn't be afraid to take that one personally. But, you know, 25 tick, 30 tick bar is not for everybody. But sometimes it's what you got to do if you want to enter a trade. But anyway, runs up. It tries to go lower twice, and you get another second entry long right there. I like going long because we just came off the lows, so we may run back up here and test these highs again. And sure enough, that's exactly where it goes. And this time, this is like a first entry, second entry, third entry. And we do get a break at a new high, and you may go short there, but I think you need to wait on a lower high. And notice where the lower high shows up right here. The next swing high would be the lower high. Somebody's always asking me about lower highs. And they'll say, well, wasn't this a lower high? Yes, it's a lower high, but it's not one when you want to take a trade on a lower high, it has to be somewhere close to the original high. Like this one, see how it's a little close there? It's a little congested, and I'll talk about that when we get there. But literally, you want a lower high to be like this. Here's your low, and there's your higher low. See how close it is to that low? Once prices get way up here, you can't consider that a tradable higher low. Yeah, it's a higher low, but it's not down here near the entry, and so you can't enter there. So I hope that makes sense. There's nothing more to lower highs or higher lows than that. They just have to be close to the original high or low to be tradable. And it has to be a good setup and all that too, of course. Don't take that literally, but that's the key to it, is how close it is to the original low or the original high. And it has to be, you know, once it's moved all the way across the EMA, it's moved too far. Coming back, it might be a higher low, but it's just a new low. It's not a tradable higher low. So like right here, that prices had moved too far. You know, you want them to go a little bit and come back and then make a higher low and then take off. So hopefully that's clear. But anyway, we're working down, breakout side, tries to come lower. And that's a second entry long. I like it. There's another second entry long here. Notice that new high is the first entry and then the second entry, but that's too congested. Just sit tight. And it runs up here, and it basically makes a double top, but the stem is a lot higher. And it's not a triple test, so I think you could take that if you want to be aggressive, but understand that's aggressive. Here you would want to wait on a lower high, which comes way down here, and it's moved too far, just as I just described, and you're just kind of working sideways. You do get the break, close outside, and a couple of swings to a new low. And this classifies as a second entry because that's a double top. So that's you could count that as a new high, and then you get a first entry, second entry. So technically you could take that trade. I'm not crazy about it. It looks a little sideways and congested. We're not back down to the lows. We just came off the highs. Sure, we could go right back to the highs, but that's not your expectation. Your expectation is prices are going lower. So I don't like entering there. You could argue for it to be green, but I'm not even going to mark it green. Runs back up, first entry, and then you get a second entry, and now you could argue you got a triple test, and you got a nice signal bar. Just go short there. It doesn't go very far. It ends up kind of being congested, but you get your scalp out of it, and you might even get more. It just depends how you played it. But you get a lower high here. I marked it green, and it's close enough to be called a lower high, but it just looks sideways and congested, and we hadn't been able to get through that EMA, and you don't know that it won't touch and bounce again. We could be we're making higher highs and higher lows here to some degree, so you got to be careful. So, but if you take that, it's a great move. It's just a little aggressive. And you make a new low here, no trade, and then you make this is almost a higher low if it would have, but we're just, every one of those bars just makes a slightly higher low, and it does have a lower high. So you could consider that as a lower high, but you can't, I wouldn't trade that. It's not a good enough signal bar anyway. And this turns out to be a nice trend up, but there's just no real good chance to get into it all the way up. And then we finally get a close outside here, and we swing. We got a little trend working back, close outside, tries to make a new low. Again, you can't enter in that sideways. It's just too choppy there. You do get a slightly higher low here, but again, it's too sideways. And it runs up and it makes a new high. Now, when it turns down there, a break below, that's a second entry. Notice this is double bottom, so first entry, second entry. Technically, by the counts, it would look like a 1, 2, 3. But that's why you have to visually look at this stuff too, because it's clear that's a double bottom. And so there's a leg up, first entry, leg up, second entry. And then you get a higher low, but no trade on that. I like going long on that, short on that one right there, because you've got your break, a couple of swings to a new high, a little ways away from the EMA, second entry short. Take that trade. And then you make a double top here, so I'd probably take it as well. It does go slightly higher there, but that's you can easily see there's a double top across there. I like going short there. Runs all the way down. Then you get a first entry, second entry, right off the EMA. Nice signal bar. I like going short there. And then you get now that's a lower high. You get a lower high. It's back close to the highs there. Hadn't moved too far away from this move, so I like taking that lower high. And there's another lower high here, but none of these are tradable. It just keeps going lower. Then we break out the low side, and we actually go a little lower than that one. Maybe you enter there, but trying to pick tops and bottoms, just don't do it. Just wait and see if you get a higher low, which comes right here. Now see how close that is to that? It's a good signal bar. Way away from the EMA. That's a tradable higher low. Go long right there. And you can see it takes off here. Now you wouldn't want to do this if we're in a downtrend, but this is sideways. So this is going to be like a failed breakout. You're expecting prices to fail on the breakout and go back. So make sure, that's what people miss. Make sure you hear that. You wouldn't do this in a downtrend, try to pick these bottoms. But this is a range. And most breakouts fail in reverse. And so you're just trying to play the reversal. But if you wait on the higher low or up here a lower high, you're going to have better odds. It's just more proof that it's reversing and going the other way. You've got the first step in you don't have a higher high yet, but you got a higher low, and then comes a higher high, and then another higher low, higher high. Now you're trending in the other direction. And this higher low or a lower high just gives you more information that, hey, maybe we're going to start trending back in the other direction. And that's what you need before you go short. So we get a close outside a new high, but then you get a first entry, second entry. It's not a great setup, but it is a second entry. And a lot of times after a break, you get two legs up. We're not back to the last highs, or certainly the highs up here, so we could get another leg up. So maybe you take that one. You've got a second entry short here, but I'd wait on a lower high because you're still trending higher here. So just wait to be sure. And you can see we move down here, and then you get a first entry, second entry, and this is a lower high than this one. So it's not like you're really trading the second entry short here, but it's a lower high as well. And then you get another lower high here, but you can't take that one. Just sit tight. If you didn't go short here, just sit tight. There is room to get out here. You might could argue for that one, but I'd sit tight. If I didn't go short here, I wouldn't go short here because it's looking a little sideways. And you probably can draw this and see it a little better. And you can see that across there. So you're a little dangerous going short right there. It pushes on down and you get a little failed breakout. Plus you get a double bottom down here, a nice signal bar way away from the EMA. I like going long there. Now here's a higher low, but it's just moved a little too far, and by the time the bar closes, we're already back to the highs almost. So you can't go short or long there. We get a close outside here. It tries to go higher twice. There is a second entry short there. Signal bar's not got it good enough. It looks a little sideways. Just sit tight. And then we get a break here, and that's just the first entry, and it's an inside bar. But it runs all the way back down to the lows, and we bounce down here again. You can argue you got a 1, 2, 3 triple test now and a decent signal bar. So I like taking that, just try to ride it back to the EMA, and maybe it goes all the way the other side. But that takes us into 230, and then there's nothing else after that. And you wouldn't have got very far with that one. I mean, you probably could have still got a runner there. I mean, this moves a little over 5 points, so you might even get a small runner there. But that takes us into 230, and that's how I saw it. But you can see, basically, pretty straightforward. This is a range day, so you're looking to short the highs and buy the longs, but you got to have a good setup, and you got to follow the rules. So there's more than enough trades here today to easily find two any time of the day today. So I mean, maybe it was a little slow early morning, but you got good morning trades here, a few midday trades, and a few afternoon trades. So it didn't matter when you traded today. You should have been able to find you a couple of easy trades. Or maybe not. Maybe I shouldn't say easy, but a couple of straightforward trades if you understand what's going on. I like these kind of range days. I mean, this is fairly consistent other than these two breakouts. But just don't trade the breakouts unless you get a good high or low way away from the EMA like that. Just sit tight. And if you just trade the ones at the range, that's simple. Now, the highs, most of your turn downs were right across here. Now, there were a couple up here. But even if you don't trade those, the rest of them are pretty straightforward. So the more consistent the support and resistance is, the easier it is to be right on it. And because you're probably going to get another turn there. So just keep that in mind. But anyway, that's how I saw it. I'm not going to beat around the bush today. There's not much else you can say about this. Just a tight range day. So this thing still just does not want. It tries to sell off and it comes back. So it doesn't want to sell off. We may just work sideways till we work off some of this overbought, and then it may head higher again. We just don't know. We just have to wait and see what the market gives us. It can stay overbought longer than you would expect, so don't forget that. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.